Okay, folks. Thursday morning or whatever hell day this is. I'm going to start off with cleaning my desk, but this is probably about as cluttered as it is. I actually have a lot of clutter and I don't have a lot of clutter because all the clutter is in one area. We got a tank park up here. All kinds of shit. But we're gonna put some finishing touches on some stuff, or attempt to. So last time we ended with painting the tracks and the road wheels on the Panzer IV, and couldn't dry brush it because it was still pending. So that's something we can tackle today. The final color on the what's it called, light stone is done. It's really interesting how things change as you add different layers of dry brush and detail and things like that. They start they start kind of light, and then you do the wash on them, and they get really dark, and then you bring them back up again. But yeah, we're gonna need to. These look really good. They look really good to me, which is ultimately what's important to me. Do we have an incorrigible wheel? We'll leave it alone. We'll let it fall off on its own. Yeah, these are robust little vehicles, robust little models. We're at a standstill with a Valentine until I can find time to go look through my decals and find them. Got some tools and such, but really only two, and then a muffler to paint. All right, let's go ahead and let's get this light sand. Let's get this light sand going. I don't want to use something that's too small because you'll end up spending way too much time on it. We don't need this just yet. Let's still use this one. Now, it's slightly different. this color here. So this is the last color of the true color of the tank, and then this is technically a weathering color here. Oh, not so much weathering. Gee whiz. Now, technically, this color right here, this dark sand from Vallejo, is the color that Vallejo recommends for their British vehicles. So we got there. I don't want to have an overall vehicle, a color overall in it like this one. I want some variations so that it looks lived in, like, you know, it looks real. Even though if you look at a real vehicle at a tank museum or something like that, it might be a more uniform color. It still doesn't look right to me. It looks more like, you know, stuff in a photo in action. I don't know that it's that noticeable, the difference, but it is once you start looking up close. Like, I'm definitely not one of those people that's like, oh, don't take the photo too close, it's gonna look terrible. I'm nearsighted as hell, and I'd have to fool myself while I'm painting it, and that's just not possible, unfortunately. So it looks good up close. Yeah, there's that wheel that's kind of going sideways. We'll leave it. We'll leave it be for the time being. There's a lot of slack, more than any other plastic soldier company wheel I'd seen before. Sometimes they'll just go on. You don't even have to use glue. But this one has a lot of slack between it, for whatever reason. Yeah, it's pretty cold, man. It's like 30 degrees or something like that. I imagine it's even colder where you're at, but the one time we went to Utah, it was actually colder here than when we went to Salt Lake City. When we flew into Salt Lake City, we went to Park City that year. I mean, I just went ahead and put on long sleeves because I didn't want to get here and be like, man, it's freaking freezing. I don't really complain about the cold, but everything I have for breakfast is cold. Everything I have that I drink is cold. So, you know, if you're okay, but then you start ingesting a bunch of cold things and you're not doing a whole lot of movement, it's not like I'm out walking. You're gonna get chilled. That's those. Let's put a little bit more of this down. I assume it's really cold where you're at. You guys make sure those runways at JFK are clear, man. I'll be flying up there in a few days, and I'm gonna be I'm gonna be really disappointed if something goes sideways. I've just started to get excited about my trip, and I don't like getting excited about stuff because then the rug getting pulled out from under me. It's not like I get to travel every weekend. I'm probably going to take the top of this antenna off and drill the rest of it because there's no way this little antenna is that short. I'm not buying it. Yeah, it's wicked here, especially with a wind chill, 20 degrees before wind chill. Yeah. I don't live in a very windy place. It's rarely windy here in northern-ish Florida. That's why when it's hot, it's unbearable. But I actually made an inquiry into getting some reference books about paint schemes yesterday. I didn't really want to do it because it was something that was only available through the mail and it was going to take a while to get here. And I'm like, well, I don't mind ordering before I leave. And then I come back and it's just, it's just books. And I think they're relatively thin. And they're like 15 pounds a piece. And there's three of them I wanted to get. So I'm like, hey, how much would it cost to ship over to the US? And they said it was like 90 pounds. Like it was the shipping was more, no, it was more than 90 pounds, something like that. I was like, well, I have to rethink this. That's just too much. I mean, the shipping, he's like, yeah, the shipping is ridiculous. Almost 82 pounds. I'm like, I'm not gonna. So I'm like, well, how much is one book? I haven't heard back from him. Maybe the guy blew me off. I just, I don't eat them that bad, I guess. That just doesn't seem. I don't think he's trying to, screw me on the shipping. But I'll just make do without it. Yeah, there's three 15-pound books was 81.65. They're books. You're supposed to ship. It's supposed to be cheap to ship them. And I don't believe they sell them in PDF. Otherwise, I'm perfectly fine getting them in PDF. Some people don't do PDFs. I guess I'm guessing because they're afraid of them being out on the getting put out on the internet. But the guy could scan them and put them out on the. I mean, go look at one of those share sites. There's all kinds of things that people had to scan to put on there. People are dreadful. They're gonna do that kind of stuff anyways. I don't know. Nobody wants to pay for shipping on a book, on a publication. That's ridiculous. So, I'm pretty discouraged right now, and it literally just happened before I went on. I have so much fucking clothes on. My Panzer IV was here and it hit the ground. And I'm like, God, nothing broke. And then I took a look at it, and it's like, how did nothing break? The front of the barrel is chipped, and I don't know what I'm gonna do. And I don't know what I'm gonna do, and I'm really discouraged at this point. So what I'm gonna do is this motherfucker is gonna go back here in the corner, and we're not gonna mess with it. It's not chipped very bad. I could probably fix it with green stuff, but I wanted to see what that looked like. Now, you know what? Screw you for falling down. We're gonna look at you anyways, you stupid Nazi bastard. As I wanted to get the pale sand and see what it looked like. Finish this pale sand. Pale sand, yeah. It's pissed me off. I got too much stuff up here. And anytime I put on glasses, I'm like, I do klutzy things. Nothing major, but it's like, I've never been a klutz my entire life. I'm an asshole, not a klutz, damn it. I think I can fix that. It's just freaking annoying. That's why I can't invite anybody over here to come over here, break. I can't invite anybody over here to break my stuff. See, it's like, okay, make sure you don't clip something on the way to grab your things. I never wear this amount of clothes. I just always wearing short sleeves. Get away from me, you damn glasses. All right, let's. We're gonna go really light because I don't want to. I want to make sure you can still tell that these wheels were made of rubber. You'll be all right. I just don't like getting discouraged. That's all. I remember one time when I was working one of my DBA armies, I was so excited about finding this book that was going to be like the holy grail on how to paint something. And it was a book that was only available in Spanish because it was, Spanish medieval stuff. And I ordered it. It was like a $50 book, and it was $50 to ship it. And I got it here, and it's a piece of shit. I mean, the art in it is just subpar. I have this idea that, like, oh, I'm going to get something, and it's going to unlock all the secrets of such and such. And, a lot of times it's just bullshit. It's bullshit you've sold to yourself. And it's just, man, just go on the internet and figure it out yourself. Because a lot of this stuff is just guesswork or, this particular artwork, the particular artwork was, because you couldn't see what it looked like inside. The artwork was terrible. The artist was even worse than that one guy that paints all the guys that look the same from Osprey. What's his name? Ron Volstad, I think. And don't get me wrong, he paints better than I do. But if I painted individual people, they wouldn't all look like they're all, clones. But this guy that painted in this book was just really unsatisfactory. Okay. Let's get the other color away from it. And not put it back down. Go away. I'm starting to get pissed. You can stay here. Oh, you motherfuckers, get out of the way. Out of the way. Do not grab the wrong thing. This is stuff that never happens. Like, is that how this day's gonna be? I will fight you. I'll go back to sleep. I didn't want to be at work anyways. Yeah, this loosened up again. Why? Why did this loosen up? I should have used epoxy all along instead of this fruity super glue. Well, there had to be something about the 3D prints I didn't like. Miniature Smackdown time, that's right. I will kill all of you. I made you, and I will break you. Wasn't really happy with these hand painted German crosses, so I wanted to see what the dry brush on top of it was going to look like, which is, you know, going to be better. Yeah, we'll deal with that later. Not too worried about that. There's the difference between the two. Putting the light stand on it. So here's going to be the real test. What this looks like going over that 4 decals. I really not 100% on the 4 decal. And I may not actually have that answer until I seal it and everything. We're just going to pretend the barrel is finished. And then we'll go back and it's not very deep. It's just annoying. When it fell, I'm like, great, now the whole hatch will fall off. Nope, didn't even hit on the hatch. So if it had been a plastic model, it probably wouldn't have broken. Because they're more flexible. Well, it depends on the manufacturer, I guess. That red 4 is still too bright. I guess I could paint over it. That's actually might be a solution. Of course, I'm gonna have to like I like to say, I'm gonna have to step away from this and see what I'm looking at. Yeah, it looks pretty good, other than that 4 being too bright. We're gonna leave it alone and see it sort. It'll sort itself out. It'll sort itself out. But color-wise, I think it looks good. The German crosses look a lot better with a little bit of dry brush over them. Now we'll need to do the tires on the armored cars. So I guess it doesn't work with these big ones. There's some big brushes there. In the spring, that's the brush holder. They really like their capacity. It's good, something that behaves a little bit better. My biggest issue with damage has been moving. As careful as I am with packing, there always breaks. Yeah, you just should have never left Virginia. Problem solved. Or it could be one of those cases. But if you never left Virginia, I don't know if you lived there your whole life or what have you, you didn't know how good you had it. I can't imagine living in a city. I can't imagine living in a city. I wouldn't mind visiting again, but that's not my kind of thing. But what I've kind of noticed is there aren't a whole lot of places where you have a lot of privacy. I mean, unless you live, yeah, I don't think you have a lot of places there's that much privacy. As you'll see people live in the country, and they got, I don't know, 5, 6 acres or something like that, and somebody's right next to them. I'm like, what good did that do? You know? I still haven't been able to find that one piece on the front of the armored car, which I don't even notice anymore. I'm certainly not going to be able to find the tip of that cannon. I'm just going to have to make it out of green stuff. Oh well. It's not your time anymore. We're done with you. Now let me learn my lesson from the other day and not even attempt to squish this out. Let's just grab some from here, put it here. Grab some from here. And we'll see if that's enough of the black. When Vallejo paints weren't easily accessible here, I used craft paint black and craft paint white as those two colors. All the other ones were Vallejos. You don't go through the other colors very fast. It was the black and white that I go through a lot faster. Well, at least this has a nice rim. You can push the bristles around. And not have to freehand that. You have a basement in Virginia? That's how you know if Virginia is the South. We're from the South. If you have a basement, you're not from the South. I've never lived in a house with a basement. I have no idea what the heck that is. I've actually never lived in a house with airspace underneath it. I've always lived in a house with a monolithic slab. Ooh, big words today. So it'd be weird to on your main floor, right? That's above your basement. If you walked across it, it's not solid. It's got to have airspace below it, or you don't have a basement. So I never lived in a house that had a creaky floor like that. If your floor creaks, you got a problem. You got a sinkhole underneath you. Yes, we have a basement, but our house is on a hill. So half the basement has entrances. Oh, I know what you're talking about. It's like a bunker. Well, I was going to get on and paint last night, but by the time I was able to get on, would have been like 9. And I really don't want to spend an hour trying to get everybody there. And then, okay, it's time to sign off. and you know, so I'm like, I guess we'll video game a little bit. We'll work on the zombie apocalypse a little more. Which is funny because that's what the basement reminded me of. Like, oh, you have your house, half sunk in there and into the with entrances. I'm like, oh, that'll be good for the zombies. Oh, like, oh, wait a second. The zombie game that only Ben and I have ever played. I've just never encountered somebody who's played that game before, ever. It's flat out broken. Okay, well, we'll glue you one later. I'm actually not going to paint inside the wheel well so that the wheel well of this one looks the same as the other ones. That's why. Well, you're going to be epoxied in place. Yeah, because it's missing a tip. I better hide this from you. I don't want you to see the underside of my vehicle. It's not painted. I haven't been a video gamer since the days of Close Combat. I never played the first Close Combat. I didn't have a lot of experience playing it person to person, except for I was playing a campaign. I only did it, I think, once or twice with somebody that I knew in real life, my original Mitch. And he played, we were playing the Russian one, the Russian front one. I guess that's Close Combat 3. And I took the Germans out. I think we played two. Maybe we only played one. Heck, I think that's in the days of dial-up, honestly. And which is why it really bugs me that some games just don't work well, like that squad leader, the ASL spin-off. It sure seems like a spin-off. Um, Lock and load tactical doesn't work well, or didn't work well the half dozen or so times I tried. But yeah, Close Combat seemed to work fine in multiplayer. And it's a lot more basic game that has movement, instead of counters. But anyhow, I digress. So we're playing this Close Combat campaign together, and we were playing the modification of it called, I think it was called Real Red. Anyways, it was more realistic, what have you. I think that's what it was called. I'm getting my modifications mixed up between those and the Total War ones. But let me get a pair of tweezers for this. Really, the clamp thingies, one of those alligator clips. Here we go. And so it's got a lot of other vehicles and stuff like that, but it basically plays the same. It's just supposedly more realistic, has more vehicles, stuff like that. And I'm playing the Germans on like the first scenario, and the first scenario has like this little, like this hill that's not huge, but it's not small, like a soft hill, like a gentle rise type of thing. And I got my German rifle squads, 2 or 3 or 4 of them or something like that, however many I was able to buy. They're on the reverse slope, slithering their way up to the hill. And of course, they don't see anything. Everybody's quiet. Get up to the top of the hill, and on the reverse slope of that hill, I had a view of the rest of the board. So I'm getting ahead of myself. As you slide up to the top of the hill, nothing happens. And you're looking around, and all I hear is, and I'm like, what's going on? He had hidden in a flamethrower T-26 on the back side and was roasting my guys and leaving little, crispy critters where they were, because the bodies will stay there. I mean, unless you make the bodies disappear, but that's, I like leaving the bodies on there because you could tell where all the carnage happened. And he was leaving little crispy critters everywhere. And I was getting massacred, and I thought it was hilarious. But that's the kind of stuff you can, with an opponent, you can do really crafty type of things. Your objective may be a certain place, but there's some high ground, so you send somebody up there to provide some reconnaissance, which is kind of unrealistic because you'd have to be able to have radios that communicate with the other squads, but I played that game quite a bit. Never played the first one, never. I think I only had 2. The later one was Market Garden related. It was cool for the time, but I'm back to miniatures now. The only thing I'm thinking about again is board games. Might do some board games for the Pacific Naval and Air component, then have miniatures to do the zoom in component. I don't like board games because I just don't have it in me to try to figure out the rules. I just don't want to do that anymore. I just have zero interest in it. And I want to play them correctly, but I'm reading sentences over and over again and they don't make any sense to me. So I don't want to do it badly enough, I guess. So that's the only thing I have against board games. It's like, video games are like a quick fix. Like, I wonder what this would look like. Okay, so play a game about it. Now, okay, that was fun. Now I can go back to painting. But it's nowhere like it used to be when I was doing both. I mean, anybody can play a video game. And these people that do like some of these video game playthroughs, man, they got a ton of viewers. And actually, the only part I find annoying about all that is these people that play like a World War II game and then they don't know anything about World War II. I'm like, well, there's your opportunity to learn, man. I mean, that's actually how I found Tick. I found Tick because I was like, I hadn't played close combat in a long time and I decided to watch some videos and who's this Tick guy and why is he making these close combat videos? That's how I came across him. So I was watching it up, I had a meeting I had to do at a ridiculous hour that was over a lot earlier than I would have left the house. So I'm like, I'm going to go grab some coffee and watch some videos, right? Because I'm not going to just stay at the office from 5 a.m. on. Like, I'll go have some coffee, I'll come back in at my normal time. And I was watching these videos and I'm like, well, Let's find out about Alamein. I like to watch a video about it, and then I'll be able to, kind of process it, and then we'll watch more specific stuff. I know what they're talking about. Because I know how it started and I know how it ended, but the details in the middle, well, that's where all the flavor comes from. So I noticed that video that you recommended to me was there, but it was about the second Alamein. I'm like, why am I going to watch it? And they didn't, and they didn't make any other videos. Those Kings and Generals didn't make another video about Alamein, other than when they broke the camel's back. I'm like, well, what about how did the camel get there to begin with? That's where I saw that operations room one, which I thought was really good. But then that's the only one they do. They only do the very beginning of Alamein. Not that I'm going to be gaming Alamein stuff, but I didn't know it was the whole. I'd heard of Ruisat Ridge before. I just didn't know, what it was. I'm like, oh, Indian guys like getting surrounded and then running through. But that's pretty interesting. Someone gave me the Undaunted Stalingrad game for Christmas, 2023. I still haven't fully grasped the rules. Think I might get to it at some point. There's a lot of videos on that. That game looks really good. I don't know that I'd like it, but it looks pretty good. Like, it physically looks good. It's a bad title. They cover the first Alamein battle. Yeah, literally like the first day, and that's it. I just like all the stuff that involves maps. Because after watching that first Alamein day, I'm like, oh, this is over here and this is over here. Okay, cool. So there's nothing happening in this area and this area. All right. Or at least there's nothing major happening. Because every time I'm reading stuff, I'm like, I like to read with like an atlas. Okay, this is moving over here and this is. And you give me a video that already has a moving atlas in it, like, yeah, that's my language. Everybody's always played the market card in close combat, and most people, that's the Goldfinger of the series. Everybody likes that one. And I don't dislike Operation Market Garden. I just don't like that game because it's impossible to hit people with it. The it's just unrealistically low. There was some game, there was some scenario where I was defending a built-up area with some Germans in the Market Garden game, and I had an Aufklärungsgruppe or whatever it's called in it. Basically, 3 guys with MP40s. So a half squad or a quarter squad, whatever you want to look at it, a little fire team, 3 guys with MP40s, like a squad leader, a team leader, and 2 other guys. All equipped with submachine guns. And they had, I don't know, 220 rounds or something like that. So they had multiple magazines. Probably something like 8 magazines or something for each guy. And they're in this concrete building that's kind of in a crossroads. So there's like a road that goes this way, a road that goes that way, in the middle of the city, like on the outskirts of the city, or maybe in the middle of the city. I forget which one it is. And the road goes right by it, almost like a little toll booth. And it was hardcover. It was a stone building, and they're in there, hiding, just waiting for somebody to walk up and stir the pot. So I'm hiding. And, I'm playing against the computer. And all these paratroopers or whatever, I'm sure they were paratroopers because it was their ground troops, come scurrying around in front of this thing. Just not trying to even come in the building, just trying to go by another road. And I'm talking about like, the building is this big. The space between the building and the next set of buildings, like there'd be like row houses across the street. I'll have to find that map and then show you. Hell, close combat, market, garden, maps. images. Close combat market garden game. Okay. Okay, this isn't the exact map. This is actually the redo, the Arnhem one that I have not played it. Let me just use an example. So you got the like in a stone building. So like say this one here. They're just hiding there. And across the street, these guys start darting between buildings and up and down the street, and they use up all their ammo and don't kill a single guy. I'm like, that's just absurd. I mean, it was just absurd. It like soured me on the whole series. It was more than in the version I watched. It was almost a quarter of the video for the pre-second battle history. Yeah, it wasn't this particular map, and I actually don't know this one, so I haven't probably played on which one's this one? Chagrov. But it's one of the ones that's in one of the cities. And the whole city is built up, and it was like this little outpost. And I unloaded the entire freaking magazine. I put them in a place where people had to walk by, and I was going to get some shots, and I could get out of that building if I needed to. And like they didn't kill anybody, and they unloaded. This is the map I hate. I absolutely hate this map. This map that has the damn bridge on it, because it's not three dimensional, so it's kind of hard to figure out what's underneath the bridge and what's over it, and it was just I always hated that map. And I haven't played the redo of it. I have it. I got all the close combat series, but it was like on super sale or something like that. I don't like things that involve river crossings. They're just kind of hard to wrap your head around it. But the only one I've never played is the first one, and all of the new ones. I've only dabbled in the Panthers in the Fog one. I've only dabbled in the Road to Khan or whatever it's called, and I haven't played any of the redos. They remade all of them. I guess Matrix remade them or something like that. I don't know. And I did buy them. I heard so many bad things about the new one that's three dimensional. The big red one, I actually like it. I mean, I don't like that it's kind of limited in its scope, but I like that three dimensionalness to it. It makes those maps where it's like with huge elevation differences, more like understand what it is. Plus, it starts in Tunisia, even though I don't think any of the Tunisia battles were particularly interesting. In it, I did play it some, but if I'm playing that, I'm not painting, and I need to paint, not play. So I think that's what it's called, Big Red One. And I guess they gave up on making more, but as much as I like the close combat games, I still prefer the Shenandoah ones. I get Matrix and Slytherin mixed up. Are they related? I don't know if they're the same company, but they do the same kind of stuff. I get those two mixed up. The same way I get on board games, Compass Games and who's the other one that I get mixed up with? Compass and the people that do the Second World War at Sea series. I keep thinking that's Compass Games, and it's not. Avalanche Press. I get Avalanche Press and Compass mixed up. I was going to use the Avalanche Press games to play the strategic naval combat when I got to the tactical game, use my preferred tactical rule set. But that kind of happened in a time period when, in the late 90s, where everybody moved out of town. It was like there's no gamers in town. Or there was no historical war gamers in town, I should say. Oh, look at that. We forgot the bloody tire on the front. Yeah, so I don't know if I'm going to make it out to the Imperial War Museum. After watching several videos on it, I'm like, why should I plan my entire trip around 2 tanks and 2 artillery pieces? Like, I was expecting there to be more stuff there. Like, okay, is that all there is? Like, I've been to places that have more stuff than that. If we get there, if we make it there, we make it there. If we don't make it there, well, we don't make it there. Good morning, Mr. Barnes. I guess I'm spoiled by the Smithsonian. And I think the Smithsonian's still missing a bunch of stuff. And I'd totally go out to the tank museum if it wasn't, forever away. And like the only reason we're even going to London was because we had to fly in to get to Spain that way. So I might as well go by. It was never an intention to go to London. Not that I have anything against it, but so I don't think I'm going to plan my whole trip around that because that's going to be a thing that the most excited of the three of us is going to be me. And if I'm not excited for what's there, then the other people aren't either. So Royal Armories is much better. Well out of your way though. Yep. Yeah. I mean, we have to fly in through Heathrow to get to Spain. So we just decided to spend 2 days there on the way there. And, and looking at it from the outside, I'm like, well, why isn't there better stuff in London? But that's like, London is like New York, and New York isn't the United States. Sorry, Marcus. We have stuff really spread out here. That place that would have been really good to go to is in Virginia, Danville, Virginia, that tank place, and they closed it down. And Aberdeen, I never got a chance to go to Aberdeen. And one time I went, one time I was going to Historicon and could have had time to go over there. They'd already moved it out. So I went to one of the other places that they moved it out to on the way up there, and they didn't have the display set up yet. And then they moved some of them to Fort Benning, which is in the middle of freaking nowhere. Fort Benning is like where you send rednecks when they misbehave. Like, oh, we're gonna send you in the middle of freaking nowhere. Like, there isn't an interstate anywhere near you. You got to go around a bunch of stoplights and shit like that. And their museum supposedly is really good, but it's not open to the public. Yeah, they don't want me going there and proving all their stuff wrong. That's why. They actually did it just to screw with me. You couldn't pay me to go to London. I don't blame you. But I've never been, so I should go. But I'm not a big city person, you know? The biggest city I've ever lived in is the one I moved out of. And it got up to about 150,000. 140, 150,000. Started around 60 something. Now, you put me in a place where there's millions? Yeah, I don't. I'm from America. Like, I want to go to this business here and I want to park here for it. I don't want to, like, oh, there's no parking here. Well, how am I going to go to your business if there's no parking? Well, there's just too many people. I said, well, I don't belong here. You know? I'm a suburbia person. But when you're traveling, it is convenient to go to a place that you don't need a car at. Because that's one other thing you don't have to worry about. And I don't want to rent a car in Britain until they figure out how to drive on the correct side of the road. And I read several articles. Oh, we drive on that because they used to carry swords. And I'm like, can you carry a sword now? Because that might be a fair trade. Like, okay, I'll drive on the wrong side of the road, but I get to carry something on the hilt. Oh, you can't carry weapons in public. Well, there's no reason to drive on the wrong side then. Because that'd be cool. Get out, you'd brandish a sword or something. I don't know. Have a duel on the way to the grocery store. You've gone to the grocery store and wanted to have a duel with somebody you keep bumping heads with. It's happened to you once before. But, a lot of these places that we're going to go to, we're probably never going to go to them again. And it's not because we hate them. It's just, it's so difficult. We've tried like for decades to go to Europe. For decades. And something's always in the way. Between being able to take enough time, the jet lag is brutal. A 6-hour jet lag is, I guess it could be worse, but that's severe. So you can't go for like 2 days or something. It'd be all messed up unless you have to take Vivarin or something like that. Just stay awake, You don't want to go and sleep through your freaking vacation. So you got to take a significant vacation. And it's very hard to do. Forget expense. If somebody said, "Hey, I'm going to pay for this trip," it's just impossible to leave work for that long. What was that saying they had in when the Yanks came over to Britain? The British were like, oh, underworked, underpaid, and under Eisenhower or something, overworked, underpaid or something like that. It was like, yeah, I think people in America are overworked. We're overworked. Like, you can't leave your freaking job. Like, you can't. It's impossible. And I'm not taking it with me. If I'm going to work from home and work while I'm in the office and have to have office hours, I might as well start my own fucking business. Right, Marcus? I don't work for myself because, I don't really have that interest in doing that, and I don't want to work all the time. I'm not defined by what I do for a living. There's a lot of what you do at your job that even if you like your job, There's so much of your job. I would say 75% of what you do for a living is not what you enjoy about your job. Whether it's CYA, I mean, maybe there's somebody out in this world that loves doing CYA shit, but CYA is just stuff that gets in the way of you doing your job. Well, we better do this just in case. Just so many annoyances, and I think as time goes on, it becomes even more and more difficult to freaking, at least in my industry, to be able to leave it because you're constantly making adjustments and things for. I think we're just dealing with a lot of people that do drugs. To be honest with you, and you know, and us sober people are just you know. I was on the way to work yesterday, right? I had a 5 o'clock meeting. I had a 5 o'clock meeting at work because I'm having a meeting with people that leave very early in the morning. So meeting at 5 is actually late for them. I'm not meeting at 4. So I'm driving through this little rinky-dink town on the way to work, which is only like a 10-minute drive. And there's a traffic light in front of the McDonald's. And I had the defrost on because it was cold. And I always have air recircle on. I always do. But when it doesn't matter what settings you have in your car, as soon as you turn to defrost, it defaults to air coming in from the outside. I'm in this traffic light, and the car in front of me, like the light turns green, and I'm not really in a hurry, but they don't move for a while, a few seconds, 3 or 4 seconds, and then I get this waft of what, and I'm like, it's not even 5 in the morning. What are you doing lighting up, wacky weed? I'm like, I'm fine if people want to do drugs and stuff, but I don't want to deal with people that are doing drugs. I don't want to deal with people that aren't all there, that are just like in this zombie state. You may see a few swords in London if you venture out too far. All right, guys, got to go start the morning breakfast routine. Enjoy the day. You too, man. So I don't want to deal with people that are on freaking drugs. Why do I got to be the sober one? So I saw that and I'm like, I backed off this guy. I'm like, this guy's not, he's not all there. So, and there was some pickup trucks that were extremely aggressive. It's not even 5 o'clock in the morning. Why are you in that big of a hurry? I mean, this is a town that has, I don't know, a couple thousand people in it. I mean, it's a pretty freaking small town. Why are you guys so damn aggressive at that time? And then you're playing aggressive with somebody who's like doped up. What time is it? Oh shit. Damn it. It's almost salt mine 30. That's what I hate about this hobby, is the time goes by too quick. Just goes by too quick. That's what I hate about this hobby. I don't hate that it's expensive or this, that, or the other. I hate that, I have some time to myself and it's like, oh crap, it's all gone in no time. This is a great hobby if you have like a life sentence. Oh, I'll have parole. You're eligible for parole in 30 years. All right, well, give me some models so I can build them. Let me start working on a Crusader project. See if we can knock out these wheels and then stop. That way they'll be dry when we mess with them tomorrow morning or so forth. Whenever we go back to this. But I'm jumping around a lot because like I had like an hour the other day. Like, what am I going to do with an hour? I'm like, well, okay, I'll airbrush these guys in Portland stone. Like, I had time to do that. Plus, the weather was nice in the garage, so it's got to happen anyways. But I do expect to actually go to when I go to England, that I'll speak better English than most of the people there. I said most. I think we need a little bit more. That's for sure. Well, like I will say things on this program and in person that I wouldn't write down in even an email. I make misspeaks of all kinds, but I pronounce all of my letters. Like all my words are pronounced well, and like I have good spelling. I just get lazy and I'll say, stuff like, what's my favorite word there? Which should be a word. Impetuate. That's not really a word, but it should be. That's a useful word when you're talking about, DBA stuff. This guy will impetuate over here. I wouldn't write it in an email. I'd say write it in a paper, but I don't write papers. That's sick and twisted. But something formal. I don't know how to use a semicolon, so I don't use them. That's okay, nobody else does. But it's not like I'm, pluralizing things using an apostrophe S. Like, oh, there's something that makes you want to commit a hate crime. Seeing somebody using a apostrophe S to pluralize something. But my wife was watching some kind of program last night. I was in the room and she was with my daughter laying on the bed watching I think it was a Graham Norton thing or something like that, which can be really hilarious. And they had some interviewer on her, and I was trying to talk to her, and she was saying, I can't, she wasn't looking at the TV. She's like, man, I can't stand that woman's voice. I said, well, get ready, because there's a lot of people in Britain that sound like that. Just like, hey, there's I don't like all American accents. It's not a I don't like people. I'm an American. I don't like anybody who's not American. I don't play by that rule. That doesn't apply to me. But there's just some things you don't want to listen to. There's this YouTube channel that always get not YouTube channel. They might have a YouTube channel, but this Facebook reels that always get recommended to me. It's some country girl, and she's really attractive. But as soon as she opens her voice, opens her mouth, it's like, oh my God, like what kind of a barn did you grow up in? And I'm like, and some people like that, but not me. I'm like, nope. The other thing I'm probably going to encounter is I bet there's a lot of people that don't look like they speak the English language that are going to speak it better than some people that do look like they speak the English language. Because that's not the case around here. Around here, if you look like you're not a typical Anglo person, okay, you generally do not speak the English language better than someone who does look like an Anglo person. That's 90% of the time, maybe even higher than that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's just how it is. And you've got people in Britain that definitely do not look like they come from the British Isles that speak much clearer than people that do look like they're from the English Isles. Not and probably not in every case either, but got to be higher than here. They've just probably been there longer than the folks that have been here that are from other lands. I have discussion with people all the time, that say like, "Oh, it's, Americans don't like people, or people don't like folks or immigrants," and nobody dislikes immigrants. They just don't dislike people that come from a place of chaos to a place of order, and they bring their chaos with them, and they feel like that's no. I mean, there's you come here, let's all be part of the team. I don't care where you come from, but we're in this together. Not like, well, we're gonna do this our way. I'm like, you're not gonna make any friends that way. Leave your chaos at home. Oh man, bloody Nazi tank that fell on its turret. Oh well, I may fix that. I may not. It's gonna. It's like 2 mil or something like that. Maybe even less than 2 millimeters. Of it broken off. Okay, folks. Well, that's going to wrap up this morning. Mr. White, have a good day. What's left of it? No, you got half of it. And we'll see you guys either later this evening.